Beautiful people, what is going on? It's your man Louie T. It's Monday. Combine in the books. Lot to discuss from there. Calvin Ridley busted for gambling on the NFL, suspended for the entire 2022 season. We'll discuss that as well. And a bevy of other topics. You are locked in to the 242nd installment of the LouieTeeNetwork podcast that starts now. The Louie T Network is powered by the Card Collector Series. Join me, your man, Louie T, on my journey back into the card collecting space with the Card Collector Series on YouTube. Link is in the description. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the 242nd installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. I want to give a quick shout out to a couple of long-time Mob Squad members. L.A.B, what up? Also, CJ Shoots Photo, what up? Both of them have been Mob Squad members for 7 months. Happy anniversary to both of you guys. Thank you for your unwavering support. And quickly, L.A.B says, Louie T, keep doing great work. Thanks. Thank you for continuing to support the Louie T Network. And also, CJ Shoots Photo says, 1 week to free agency. You the man, Louie T. No, you're the man, CJ Shoots Photo. So, thank you guys for the support. The Louie T Net among the first in the comment section. We're going to get straight to the shits today. No delay. So, you know how we start these podcasts off. Every single time, it never ever switches up. Gem Droppin Session coming at you right now. Let me drop this gem on your melon. Open your mind, let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man Louie T double E. Let me open you up, get you thinking a little bit. So, Combine. Told you I'm not the biggest fan of the Combine, but it still does serve a purpose. And I thought some guys did things to help elevate their draft stock. We're going to knock them out real quick. Then I'll talk about some guys that I thought hurt their draft stock. It's not something that honestly is going to tear them down. There's still a pro day, and everyone takes in information differently. So for some of these players, they'll be just fine. I don't think they helped themselves, though. That was the thing. They needed to do something to really, they had an opportunity to take advantage of, and they didn't take advantage of. I think that's more so where I come from when I go with the loser aspect. Not necessarily, oh my God, this guy's draft stock is plummeting. It's just they had an opportunity to take advantage of, and they failed to do that. So we'll get to that a little bit later on. Let's start with the guys that won and won big on over this past weekend during the Combine. You start with the biggest winners of day number one. Most of them wide receivers. You had Christian Watson out of North Dakota State. Here's a 6'4", 208-pound receiver that goes out, blazes a 4.3, 640, jumps 38 inches on the vert, catches everything throughout the day, looks smooth and fluid while doing so. I think this was a guy that always was going to be a day two receiver, but I think he could have slipped into the third. I think he's one of those guys that played his way, ran his way into the second round. With that size, combination of speed and catch radius, I think Christian Watson is exactly what teams are looking for in that big body receiver that can stretch the football field vertically and go up and make plays and high point the football. He did himself a huge favor, and I think he's now catapulted himself into the second round. Another big, a couple of wide receivers from the Ohio State University. All they needed to do was check boxes. Their entire resume was complete. All they needed to do was show that they could run. That was it. Garrett Wilson did exactly that. He could be the first receiver taken off the board in this draft, and we'll see what happens there. But he goes out, runs a 4.3, 840. That solidifies his standing in this draft as one of the top receivers. And same with Chris Olave. He was the guy that I thought stand to gain the most by running fast and stood to lose the most by running slow. That was the one question on Chris Olave. How fast are you? I think everybody assumed Garrett Wilson was fast. but we didn't quite know about Chris Olave or how, if he was going to go out and be able to run and kind of match up what we saw him running past Big Ten defenses throughout his entire career. Was he going to be able to show us that on the field in Indy that he did, running a 4.39 40? That box was checked, and I actually like Chris Olave more than I do Garrett Wilson, but that's me. That's just my preference. I think this guy just catapulted himself from back end of the first round to top half. And, that's where the real money is. Top half of the first round is where the real big bucks are. I think Chris Olave just did that with his 40 time, catapulting himself from back end of the first round to the front end of the first round. Skye Moore, another wide receiver, this time out of Western Michigan. This was a guy 6 feet, 5'10", 195, that I told you had a nice showing at the Senior Bowl, along with Khalil Shakir out of Boise State. Those were the two guys that I thought really stood out at the Senior Bowl with the wide receivers, especially inside as slot guys. Skye Moore, we knew he was quick. We didn't know how fast he was. He showed us exactly that, ran a 4.41, and he's another guy that caught everything, looked fluid and smooth. And to me, another one of these guys that was going to be a day 2 pick regardless, but I thought probably could sneak him into the 3rd round. That is no longer the case. Skye Moore will be a 2nd round pick in the upcoming draft in the spring, and that's because of the performance he put forth on the field at the Combine in Indy. He did himself a huge favor with his performance as well. Tight end Jelani Woods, out of UVA, 6'7", 259 pounds, 34-inch arms, ran a 4.61, also had 24 reps on the bench, kind of went out and opened some eyes, if you will. This was a guy, again, in a very deep tight end draft class that could have gotten lost. Well, I think he shined a light on himself on day number 1 of the Combine with his performance. Looked fluid for a big guy his size. Remember, this is a guy that was a former quarterback making the conversion to tight end, so he's still raw. I think there's going to be a number of coaches out there that want to get their hands on this kid because the upside on him could be humongous, and so I think he did himself a huge favor in this draft with his performance. The last guy, or last two rather, were both quarterbacks. One that went from potentially not getting drafted as just a combine arm to, hey, maybe this guy could sneak into the back end of the draft, and Cole Kelly out of southeastern Louisiana. I talked about him being a big son of a bitch, 6'7", 250, slinging a rock all over the field, and out showcasing Sam Howell during the QB drills in the first half of day number 1. I thought he went out and helped himself and gave himself a chance to be drafted in the back end of the draft. And then a guy that didn't perform at all, but because he didn't perform, he's been the absent quarterback in this entire process because he wasn't invited to the Senior Bowl, because he couldn't perform at the Combine, or at least decided not to because he's nursing an injury and he's going to wait until his pro day. That's Matt Corral. And this is a guy that I think has been the forgotten man throughout this process because he hasn't been involved in all of the activities the other quarterbacks have. Well, he was actually able to participate in Indy, not on the field, but at least be there in person and be able to interview with these teams, sit down, discuss with them where he is in his rehab process, and also talk ball with these teams to make them feel more comfortable about Matt Corral, the quarterback, and the person and who they may be getting if they decide to spin a pick. The reason he's a winner is because none of these quarterbacks, much like at the Senior Bowl, none of them separated themselves. None of them went out and absolutely killed it to the point where you say this is the number 1 guy. He's still in the mix because no quarterback took that huge leap forward and took advantage of him not being able to participate on the field at Indy. So thought Matt Corral continues to hang around, and if he lights it up at his pro day, wow some teams with him. And also another thing that was a big win for him, his size. A lot of people thought he would measure closer to 6 feet tall. He was listed at 6'1". You know how these schools do. Everybody's an inch or 2 taller than what they truly are, maybe a 5 or 10 pounds heavier than what they really are. He was listed at 6'1", 205 in the Ole Miss program. He actually measured out at 6'2", 212. So he's taller and he's heavier. Now, is that going to be sustainable in terms of the weight? We'll see. But that bodes well for him, listing at 6'2" and measuring out at 6'2" and weighing 212. Those are also pluses and positives for Matt Corral. So I thought he was a winner as well. You go to day number 2, a guy that I've been just fawning over at the tackle position, Trevor Penning. Loved him at the Senior Bowl. He continues to build momentum here in Indy at the Combine. Northern Iowa tackle, 6'7", 325, 34-inch arms, ran a 4.89 40, looked athletically gifted on the football field. He's a physical freak, throwing guys out of the club left and right. I think this is a guy that, to me, solidified himself as a top 20 pick in this year's draft class. I can't see teams passing up this kind of talent at the tackle position. Dylan Parham out of Memphis, an interior offensive lineman, 6'3", 311, ran a 4.9 340 and looked smooth and fluid out on the field in all of the positional drills. As a guy that can play all 3 of the interior offensive line positions, I think he helped himself immensely with his performance in day number 2 of the Combine. Same for Tyler Smith out of Tulsa. He plays the tackle position at 6'5", 324 with 34-inch arms, ran a 5.0 240, or I think it might have been 5 flat as a matter of fact. Either way, really good athleticism. I thought his movement skills were on point, and he's another guy at a tackle position that is somewhat loaded this year. I think he continues to push himself up into the mix as a guy that could hear his name. As we know, these tackles, they go quickly. He could hear his name catapulted into the first round with the way he continues to perform. Running back Kenny Walker III out of Michigan State. Here's a guy that, could ultimately be the number 1 back taken off the board. We'll see. There were questions about the speed at the running back position. Those questions we think were answered because of, I'm somewhat curious about the Combine times, but 4.38 40 for Kenny Walker III. That was the one thing we weren't sure. Did he have breakaway speed? We've seen him run away from guys, but we weren't really sure. I always question Big Ten running backs and how fast they are, but the last couple have kind of quiet that noise. Jonathan Taylor running a 4.39, and now Kenny Walker running a 4.38. I don't think he's faster than Jonathan Taylor, but anyway, thought he helped himself with that 40 time, caught the football well. Same can be said for Breece Hall, wearing a 4.39 out of Iowa State. He is vying for the number 1 spot of being the number 1 running back taken in this draft class. I don't think there will be a first-round running back this year, but one of these guys will come off the board. And another guy that has a chance will be someone that we'll name a little bit later on in the show. But those two helped themselves with the 40 times that they put forth, and they caught the football very well during the course of the day. Day number 3, Jordan Davis might have been the single biggest winner of the Combine in Indy. Put on a show in day number 3 of the Indy Combine. The defensive tackle for Georgia, really the Georgia Bulldogs defensive players, put on a show. Louie Seen at the safety position, Jordan Davis, his counterpart at defensive tackle, also put on a show. These guys were just outstanding throughout the day. Trayvon Walker was another guy that I thought was one of the bigger winners of the entire Combine overall. Jordan Davis, 6'6", 341, 4.78 40 for a guy 340 plus pounds, ran a 1.68 10-second split. I think what he's effectively done is made himself a top 15 pick in this draft class. I think he was a guy that easily could have been back into the first round, even maybe into the second round, depending on how things went. But there was, to me, no doubt that he was going to be a first round pick. Now, I think he's catapulted himself into the top 15, no worse than top 20. This guy is a freak, and we know that defensive tackles are coveted in this league, especially if they're big and athletic like Jordan Davis. Travis Jones is another big, athletically gifted interior defensive tackle, 6'4", 325 out of UConn, ran a 4.92 with a 1.76 10-second split, dominated the Senior Bowl, continues the momentum built there at the Combine. He's a guy that could easily hear his name called back into the first round, but more likely than not, he'll be a second round pick. David Ajabo out of Michigan. He was the tag team partner of the maybe potential first overall pick, Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan. Every Batman needs a Robin, and Ajabo was that for Hutchinson. And now he's trying to take center stage, and he had a really good performance. 4.55 40, 1.64 10-second split for the 6'4", 250-pound defensive end that's still figuring it out for the Michigan Wolverines. So this is a guy that easily is going to be a first-round pick, always was going to be a first-round pick. The question wasn't, was he going to be a first-round pick, but where was he going to be selected? With this performance, again, everybody can't be a top 15 pick, right? But in a draft class where quarterbacks won't be coming off the board like hotcakes, edge rushers will. I think this is another guy that probably solidified his spot as a top 10, top 15 type of selection. Troy Anderson out of Montana State at the linebacker position, 6'3", 243, ran a 4.4 240, lit up all of the on the field drills. He's got coverage ability. He's a tackling machine. He's got instincts. These are all traits that people gush about Troy Anderson. Then you add in the size and the speed. This was a guy that I thought really, really helped himself. Another big winner of the combine overall. I'm thinking day 2 pick, third round at the latest. Now I'm thinking he's definitely a second round pick, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And if someone falls in love with him, similar to the way Washington fell in love with Jamin Davis last year, and he's got that same type of build, that long angular frame, put some weight on, can run fast with the 4.42. The tape is there. Someone could easily fall in love with this kid and make him a first round pick. He was that impressive at the combine. If the tape matches the movement skills that were showcased in Indy, you could see Troy Anderson catapult himself all the way to a day 1 guy. I still think he's a day 2 player, but nonetheless, he made himself some money. Christian Harris, 6 foot, 226-pound linebacker out of Alabama. Checked the final box. We knew he was fast. He needed to go out and prove he was fast. He did exactly that, running a Moses Malone 4.44. And so what he's effectively did, he looks like today's NFL linebacker. He runs, he chases, he hits, he makes plays, and he checked all the boxes. He continues to elevate his draft stock. And then one of the biggest winners, again, much like Jordan Davis, is one of his teammates, Trayvon Walker, just absolutely killed it at the combine. 6'5", 272, ran a 4.5 140, killed it in all the drills, even the conversion drills. He looked smooth and comfortable out in space. And so he's a guy that went from borderline top 10 to definite top 10 pick in this draft, may have even moved himself into the top 5, depending on how the Giants feel about Trayvon Walker. Jets as well could use a guy coming off the edge, so don't discount them either. So another big winner there. Day 4, we generally don't talk about specialists, but Matt Ariza, I think, is a guy worth noting. A punter, place kicker, and a kickoff specialist all in one body. You generally don't get that coming into the NFL. A guy that was a weapon for the San Diego State Aztecs, can flip the field. I talked about this guy punting the football 75 yards in the air at the combine and having it check up at the 3-yard line and downed at the 2 from his own 20-yard line. So this guy is phenomenal. He can kick 50-yard field goals, and he can be your kickoff specialist. There's nothing he can't do in that regard. And so I think someone will get tempted to take him before the LouieTeeNetwork threshold, which is, hey, you do whatever the hell you want to do with a specialist 5th round or later. Someone may be tempted to take this guy sooner than that. Remember, what Michael Dickinson has done for the Seahawks, he could do for some team in the NFL and be a weapon as a punter that can flip field position no matter where you are on the field. He's a guy that really helped himself on day 4 of the combine. Sauce Gardner came into this thing with a bunch of notoriety and fanfare, and he left this thing with a lot of fans in NFL front offices. He was charismatic. He showed up with a suit every day, even the day of the combine, which is rare. He went out on the field. He's 6'3", 190. With long arms, and all he needed to do was run a time that had a 4 in the second digit, in that tens spot, that 10th of a second spot. That's exactly what he did. 4.41 is what he ultimately ran. Again, I question the validity of it. Doesn't matter. He's fast enough. He himself has taken his stock and upped it even further, if that is even possible. Zion McCollum out of Sam Houston State. Another big corner, 6'2", 199, ran a 4.33. Thought he moved well throughout the day. He's another guy that helped himself in a league where these receivers are getting bigger and faster. You're looking for guys to counteract that, to combat that. He gives you that size and speed that you're looking for at the cornerback position. I think he's a guy that's going to hear his name sooner rather than later in this draft. Dane Belton, safety out of Iowa, 6'1", 205, ran a 4.43, caught everything, had 5 interceptions this past year. Looked like a guy that is a ball-hawking safety. Played, looked really good on the field in his movement skills. No wasted movement out of him. Plucked the football out of the air in all the drills. Just looked really clean and fluid and seamless out on the football field. He's another guy that I think helped himself at the safety position. And then Jalen Petrie out of Baylor, did not run a 40, all right, but 5'11", 198. He was probably the smoothest safety out on the field. And an honorable mention is Louis Seen out of Georgia, ran a 4.37 40 for a guy that was trying to convince people that he wasn't just a physical box safety. To run a 4.37 40, I think he checked off that box and convinced everyone that thought he was just a box safety that he can be a lot more than that. Now you get to the losers of the combine. And again, I use this term loosely because truly there are no losers at the combine. You still got a pro day. And at the end of the day, everybody takes in information differently. How I perceive something isn't how a scout or a GM perceives it. They may, what I'm making a big deal out of, they might throw right out the window and say, I don't give a shit about that. I'm still taking this kid if he's available at my selection. So this is, again, everything we talk about, winners, losers, all this stuff is subjective. So for me, the first loser is Sam Howell at the quarterback position. I thought all the quarterbacks at the Senior Bowl really wasted an opportunity to separate themselves. None of them did. Sam Howell was one of those guys that needed to prove himself at the Senior Bowl. Hey, you were a guy that came in as a preseason Heisman Trophy favorite going into the 2021 season. We all know the obstacles that you were facing. You lost 2 big-time receivers. You lost both of your running backs. Your offensive line was in flux. We know all of these things. I thought that you gained mental toughness. You showed off some athleticism with the rush yards. There were some things that we could have taken from the season as positives, but we still needed you to remind us why you were the guy that going into the season was one of the Heisman Trophy favorites. We didn't see it at the Senior Bowl, and I thought he got outplayed at the Combine. And again, we're talking about throwing the football, right, to guys that you don't know. So it's subjective. Again, still, I thought Cole Kelly was way better than him in his group. And the thing that really frustrated me with Sam Howell was that there was no one else in his group. Because there was no Matt Corral here, all the heavy hitters at the quarterback position, Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis, Desmond Ridder, Carson Strong, they were all in the second group of quarterbacks throwing against one another. So he had the stage all to himself with the first group, and he got outthrown. He got outperformed, outshined by a combine arm in Cole Kelly out of southeastern Louisiana. Thought he didn't take advantage of the opportunity that was given to him. Stage all to yourself. All you got to do is go out there and blaze it, and he didn't do it. Kyron Williams, running back out of Notre Dame. I'm a Golden Domer through and through, Fighting Irish fan. I knew this was going to happen. I was rooting for him. I was hoping he would run faster because that's the knock on him, is that he doesn't have game-changing speed, but he can do everything else. And he came to the Combine with one goal, and that was to run fast, and he ran slow. It's 4.65. And the times that were on the TV screen were 4.72, okay, and 4.7 flat. And then it came back officially as a 4.65. It wasn't good. It wasn't a good look for him, but he can catch it. He's the best pass protecting back in this entire draft class. I'll go out on a limb and say that right now. And he can do a lot of things for you, but the home run hitting speed just simply isn't there. And that sucks because he's one of the better backs in this draft class. But, that speed isn't something that teams are willing to overlook, especially for a third down back. You like your third down backs to have some juice to him. He doesn't necessarily have that. He can make guys miss, though, but he's not getting away very far after he does. Kingsley Igbarre was a guy that I thought built some momentum at the Senior Bowl. Very raw, a physical guy. You were hoping that he would show off and showcase more athleticism at the combine. He didn't. Ran a 4.87. I thought he looked mechanical in the drills, looked very segmented in his movements. And I think he's got a long way to go in terms of his growth and development. I'm not saying he can't turn into a stud at the next level, but right now I think there's a lot more growth and fluidity that needs to take place with him before he can be one of those guys that you get super excited about. But we'll see. I wasn't impressed with him at the combine. Myjai Sanders, the Cincinnati edge rusher, checked in at 6'5", 228. That was a big topic of discussion. Why was he so light? This was a guy that was at the Senior Bowl at 241, comes to the combine 13 pounds lighter as an edge rusher, the lightest edge rusher in combine history at 228. Now, someone said, and I read in a comment, someone said that he was sick, he couldn't keep anything down, and that's why he ended up losing that weight. If that's the case, then don't perform at the combine, don't weigh in, tell everyone what the situation was. You show up there, you say, hey, look, I've been sick the last week, couldn't keep anything down, I just got over a stomach bug or whatever, the flu, whatever, and I lost a lot of weight, man. So I'm gonna weigh in at my combine, at my pro day. I'll do all the on the field work, but I'm gonna weigh in then because I'm gonna be able to rehydrate, get myself back up to speed, and put that weight back on. And I'll test there again too. He could have just either did that or just say, you know what, I'm not doing anything today. I've been sick. I haven't been able to work out. I've been dehydrated. I'll work out at my pro day. Put the weight back on and then go out there and showcase your skills. Instead, he showed up like he meant to be 228, and it was solid. It was a solid performance, but he ran a 4.67. He didn't look explosive. He didn't, that weight loss didn't seem to translate into a more explosive Myjai Sanders. So that was a big question. And whatever the excuse is, whether he was sick and couldn't keep anything down or whatever the case may be, or he lost that weight intentionally to be faster, it wasn't a good look, period. Another guy that I thought was a loser, Devin Lloyd, linebacker out of Utah, 6'3", 237. Look, I thought he was fine in the on the field drills. The 40 time was unappealing at 4.66. That doesn't discard you as a linebacker. We've talked about this already. The best linebackers in the league aren't the fastest linebackers in the league. Not anymore, at least. It used to be, once upon a time, you usually had to be a blazer. The Patrick Willises and the Luke Kuechly's of the world, those guys could flat out run. Devin White can flat out run, and everyone's looking for that kind of linebacker. But then there's the Darius Leonards of the world, and the linebacker from the 49ers, I always forget his name, out of BYU. I don't know why I always forget his name. I love his game so much, and I always forget his name. But these are guys that are 4'6" guys, 4'7" in the case of Darius Leonard at his at the combine. But Darius Leonard plays at 215 now. He was 232 at the combine, so he's a totally different animal than he was then. And I'm not going to kill him for the 4.66. I'm just going to be disappointed in Devin Lloyd because the stage was his. The conversation at linebacker was between Devin Lloyd and Nakobe Dean. There was no Nakobe Dean whatsoever in Indy. He did not perform at all, saving it for his pro day at Alabama. And so the stage, at Georgia, the stage was his, and he didn't take advantage of it. So that's why he's a loser to me. Again, he's going to be fine. And if he's instinctual, and obviously he's got coverage ability, makes plays on the football, he'll be fine. But there was an opportunity there that I thought was lost to take advantage of maybe catapulting yourself to the number one linebacker spot in this draft, and he didn't take advantage of it with no Nakobe Dean on the field in Indy. And then finally, Kyle Hamilton. Look, 6'4", 220. I thought he was just almost flawless on the field in the field work, but he ran a 4.59, and The first couple of times, on the screen were 4.6 and some change. That wasn't what the numbers suggested he was going to do. And I think there was this huge buildup. And this whole weekend, we saw guys running fast from, wide receivers to offensive linemen to defensive linemen to edge rushers to corners to, safeties. All these guys were running fast. All the running backs were running fast. Hell, even punters were running fast. Okay, Jake Camarza from Georgia ran a 4.63. Like, everybody was out here running, right? So this guy jumps 38 inches. His broad is 10, 11. And so you're thinking, okay, all those numbers at 6'4", 220, they speak to a guy that's about to come out here and do what Jeremy Chin did a year ago. And he's about to come out here and just blaze this thing. I think Jeremy Chin was 2 years ago. He's about to come out here and set this thing ablaze and run a 4.37, something like that. Everybody else is doing it. Shit. Why not Kyle? Why not Kyle Hamilton? And he comes out and runs a 4.6, and everybody's like, come again? What? So, yeah, that was a little disappointing. And if you watched his 40, he was zigging and zagging all over the damn place. He'll run it at his pro day more likely than not at Notre Dame. We'll hear that he ran a 4.4 something, and all will be right with the world. I don't think anyone's dropping him, down their board exponentially because of this, but any talk of this guy being a top 5 pick might have gone by the wayside because of this workout. Now, again, he still got his pro day. That's the beauty of the combine. They're still your pro day. If you don't like something that took place at the combine, you can clean it up at your pro day. This is why I don't understand why guys don't take advantage of this opportunity, because you can right or wrong, but if you don't perform at the combine and then you stink it up at your pro day, then you've got to then go out of your way to set up another workout to right or wrong. And not everybody's going to be at your, personal private workout or whatever. So you get one shot at your pro day, whereas you get 2 bites at the apple. If you don't like what happens at the combine, you can do it again at your pro day. If you kill it at the combine, you don't have to do it again at your pro day. So anyway, and then the other loser for me was Isaiah Spiller, the running back out of Texas A&M. Here's a guy that was vying for the number 1 spot at running back. He had something wrong with him, which is why he didn't run the 40. He did participate in the on-the-field drills. He was fine, but he didn't stand out. I wanted to see how fast he was because I really like Isaiah Spiller. I just wanted to see how fast he was, and we didn't get to see that. So I thought that with those guys that he's competing with running a 4.38 and 4.39 respectively, it kind of puts him in a bind. Like, now the pressure's on. He's got to go kill it at his pro day, or else he's definitely not going to be in the running for number 1 running back taken off the board. Anyway, that was the overall view from my vantage point of the combine and the biggest winners and losers of Indy over the weekend. And remember, I told you guys this before, I'll say it again, I wasted my entire weekend watching the combine, so you didn't have to. So let's switch gears to, in case you missed it, got a few topics to discuss, none bigger than the bombshell that was dropped on us this afternoon. And that, of course, is Atlanta Falcons wide receiver Calvin Ridley betting on NFL games. Now, I thought when I initially read the headline, I had to go and read the story. Or actually, my wife read the story to me. So shout out to my wife. Love you, girl. When I first heard the story and got the little update on my phone from Bleacher Report, I'm thinking, oh my God, you dirty son of a bitch. You lied to us and you used mental health as the reason why you were being investigated, and the league told you to sit your ass down, and you used mental health as the reason for sitting down. And no one's going to question you when you pull out mental health. That's the new thing now, right? Like, you can't say shit to somebody when they say, hey, I got mental health issues. I need a break because of mental health. So I immediately said, oh, you dirty bastard. And I was ready to lambaste his ass, but he may have had some mental health issues. This, the report that is out about him betting on games was in November. This guy played in like maybe 3-4 games to start the season, and then he was done. He didn't make that trip over to London, and I think that's the first game he missed, and he didn't come back the rest of the year. So I'm thinking that he was out in October, so I don't know if he was betting on games then, but that's not what the report says. It says that he was betting on games in November. So, and you know, Ridley came out to defend himself on social saying, look, I don't have a gambling problem. He's like, I only put down $1,500. It's not like I was out here slanging some serious dough. And, you know, my response to this is, why are you doing it in the first place? Where's the benefit, the monetary gain? Like, this is why when people say the NFL is rigged, I'm like, who's rigging it? This isn't 1964, where guys have to work jobs in the offseason to make ends meet because they're not making enough money from their profession as a football player. Like, the money you're making in the NFL is so much that what's somebody going to be able to offer you to shave points in a game, or to decide an outcome, or to make you lose by a certain amount of points so they cover the spread? There's no amount of money that's good enough that would entice a player that's making millions upon millions of dollars. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, who's jeopardizing that? I get it back in the days when you weren't making shit, or if you approach a college player who's not making any money, well, that's dead now with guys making money off of NILs. Like, there's no reason for anyone to shave points or to skew the outcome of a game for betting purposes, because again, the risk is not worth the reward like it was back in the day. So for me, I'm like, what's the purpose, dog? What were you thinking? Where's the psychological sense in this? If you thought this was a good idea, you need to wash your face and get your mind right. Cold water too, no hot water. What were you thinking? So maybe he wasn't. Maybe he wasn't in his right mental state. So maybe he was right. Maybe he had some mental issues going on. Whatever the case may be, it wasn't a smart move on his part. This is the thing that kills me. Bruh, you haven't gotten to the bag yet. That's the only reason in my mind I said, well, maybe he hadn't gotten to the bag yet and he couldn't wait. Because, you know, when you're a first round pick, you got a lot of people already digging in your pockets before you get your first check. Before you sign your name on the dotted line, you got your handlers, you got your agent. Everybody needs their cut. People that were fronting you money to put you in all of these different workout facilities. Like, this shit isn't free, right? Somebody's fronting you this money because they are investing in you, because they know when come April, come early May, you're going to hear your name called the first day of the draft. And that means money, 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 money. So they're like, hey, I'll front you all the money you need to get you all the training and all this and all that, but I need my money back. Agents like, I need my cut. Okay. So that first contract you sign, for a lot of guys, that shit's gone. It evaporates as soon as you get it. So maybe he was hurting. He's like, yo, I just need a little something to hold me over until I get to, you know, that second contract, that big thing. I don't know. I'm only speculating. This is what we do here on the Louie T Network podcast. We start to connect dots, even if they don't connect. We draw inferences when even sometimes they probably don't make sense. That's what we do here. I don't know what the case was and why he did what he did. It just wasn't smart. You haven't gotten to the bag yet, bruh. Now you may never get to that second contract. Who knows? He's going to be suspended definitely for 2022. And kudos to the Falcons. I'm going to give them a golf clap. Only because they could have been shady here. Like, the Patriots probably would have traded Calvin Ridley knowing damn well that this man was being investigated for gambling, and somebody would have traded for him and they would have got him, and then this shit would have came and hit the fan, and they would have looked at the Patriots like, you dirty son of a bitch. And the Patriots would be like, we didn't know. Yes, you did. But the Falcons said, nah, we knew what the hell was going on, which is why we didn't trade him. A lot of people called us about him. We turned everybody down. Why? Because we knew this guy was being investigated for gambling, and we did it in good faith. Good for the Falcons, man. That was a really classy move, because they could have showed their ass and they could have traded him, but they decided to act with class. I love it. Want more of it, but come on, Calvin Ridley, man. What are you doing? Why? 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 Why, man? Damn. Anyway, I digress. In case you missed it, a few guys got slapped with the tag, and you know what time it is. Tag, you're it. Everybody's running around trying to avoid the franchise tag, and teams are like, I got you. Tag, You're frozen. You can't move. Bengals tag Jesse Bates III, JB3 off the market. I thought they would, similar in the way that the Denver Broncos did it with their stud safety 2 years in a row until they finally were able to reach a deal with him and Justin Simmons. I said the Bengals would be foolish to let JB3 hit the market. They agree, slap the franchise tag on him. He's not going anywhere. Browns tag tight end David Njoku, the former first-round pick back in 2017, is going to be back with the Browns at least for one more year. I'm actually surprised. Now, I knew there was a disconnect going into last season. All those fences were mended and they were on one accord. He had a really good season, still dealt with some injuries, but he showed why he was a first-round pick. I think they love him. Obviously they do, which is why they're franchise tagging him. I thought they were going to let him test the market, and with the draft class of tight ends coming into the league, I thought they would say, we'll see what happens. But I've said this. If you've got a David Njoku or one of these athletic freaks, you don't let that guy walk. Now, if you've got one of these big, burly, 6'5", 255-pound tight ends that, hey, he's cool, but he ain't a freak. All right, let him walk. You can get another one of those in the draft. But Mike Gesicki, I'm not letting him walk. David Njoku, I'm not letting him walk. Like, these are guys that don't grow on trees. O.J. Howard was a big disappointment in Tampa. They're going to let him walk. Evan Ingram, huge disappointment in New York. They're going to let him walk. But if I'm the Dolphins, Mike Gesicki's not going anywhere. If I'm the Browns, David Njoku, he's not going anywhere. And the Browns agree. So he's been slapped with the tag. And then you already knew this. We all knew this. I knew this. You knew this. We all knew this. You don't trade for a guy and then let him walk the next year. You don't give up first-round picks like the Seahawks with safety Jamal Adams. You don't give up first-round picks and then let a guy walk. Same thing with the Rams and Jalen Ramsey. You don't give up first-round picks for a guy and then let him walk. The Cowboys, same thing with Amari Cooper. We knew this was going to be the case with the Orlando Brown and the Chiefs. They traded first-round picks to get him in Kansas City to the Ravens. So you knew they weren't going to let him walk. Chiefs slap Orlando Brown tackle with the franchise tag. They're going to figure out something to keep him there long-term. But in the meantime, he gets the franchise tag. He won't be going anywhere. That's not the last we've heard of franchise tag news. There will be more as the days continue to get closer and closer to the start of the league year. We're going to hear more guys getting tagged. I surmise that 4 or 5 more guys will be tagged before it's all said and done. A guy that is reportedly not going to be tagged is Patriots corner J.C. Jackson. I'm drooling at the mouth. Now, I know my team isn't in the J.C. Jackson sweepstakes. Boy, I would have loved to have been in that sweepstakes, though. He is in the prime of his career. He is an interception machine. And if you're talking about corners that have an ability to change a ball game, J.C. Jackson, look, he's going to get beat every now and again. What corner doesn't? But boy, if you make a mistake around J.C. Jackson, go look at his interception numbers in his young NFL career. You make a mistake around J.C. Jackson, you're not getting another chance. Quarterbacks love to test guys that they can make a mistake around because his ass ain't going to catch the ball. J.C. Jackson isn't one of those dudes. You make a mistake, that ball's a little slightly inside, that ball's a little high, that little ball's behind, that's just getting picked off. And so the Patriots, they're doing that Patriot way thing again. I'm shocked. I am actually shocked because Bill Belichick has always, and I mean always, kept a dominant corner clip in the chamber. Always. Always kept that bullet in the chamber. Always had a clip loaded, okay? He's always gone from elite corner to elite corner. He's never been without, because his defense doesn't work if he doesn't have an elite corner. If he doesn't have J.C. Jackson, then what does he have? Maybe he's got some young boys that he really likes. Maybe he's going to draft another guy. I don't know. But you go all the way back to Ty Law and you work your way up. Okay, Darrell Revis, Asante Samuel, Stephon Gilmore. Look, there isn't a period in time where he doesn't have an elite corner. And J.C. Jackson carried on that torch when they traded Stephon Gilmore. I thought that's why they traded Stephon Gilmore, because they had J.C. Jackson and they were going to keep him. Apparently that's not the case. We'll see. Anyway, I digress. He's going to be interesting. If he hits the market, I think he'll be the guy that commands the most money, along with some of these tackles. Teron Armstead is going to get buku money on the free agent market. And if J.C. Jackson hits it as well, I think he'll be right up there as among the guys that make the most money in free agency this year. Aaron Rodgers' rumor to Denver is hot. I mean, hot. Feeling hot, hot, hot. I don't think he's going anywhere, and I think if he plays football, it'll be in Green Bay. But if he somehow, some way decided not to come back to the Packers but wanted to play football, I think he's going to Denver. I think that's the place, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The team with the most talent in the NFL that just needs a quarterback to put them over the top is the Denver Broncos. They've got everything they need on offense. They've got everything they need on defense. They just need a quarterback. And I don't care which one you insert. Hell, you could have given them Matthew Stafford, and they're in the mix in the AFC to make it to the Super Bowl. They're that good as a roster, okay? They just need that quarterback. And look, history has shown, and there's a precedent that has already been set. Peyton Manning goes there, wins the Super Bowl. Don't think that Aaron Rodgers didn't see what Tom Brady did in Tampa Bay. You go to Denver, you start calling your own shots. Hey, I want this guy, I want that guy. They're gonna acquiesce, and he could go to Denver and win a Super Bowl. I'm just saying we'll see. I think he's gonna ultimately stay in Green Bay, but we'll see what happens. Washington, the Commanders, they took command, right? And they made an offer to the Seattle Seahawks for Russell Wilson, to which the Seahawks promptly declined. And look, we knew this was going to happen. The Seahawks aren't trading Russell Wilson, and this is what I said. And who leaked this report? Come on, you guys know who leaked this report. Washington leaked this report. This is their MO. This is what they've been doing this entire offseason, making sure all their fans know, hey, we're out here trying. We're trying our damnedest. We're giving it the old college try to get us a quarterback, and no one's going to trade their guy to us. So it's not for a lack of trying. So when we go out and we get Mitchell Trubisky or Marcus Mariota or one of these guys, these retreads, you know we tried. Ding! I'm not surprised that this report was floated out there at the Combine. Washington's doing everything in their power to let their fan base know that they're trying to upgrade the quarterback position. This shit is disgusting. Honestly, what they're doing right now is utterly disgusting. I'd much rather have my team working behind the scenes to fix this problem instead of letting everyone that has a microphone know, hey, we're trying to fix this problem. They want to look good in this thing. Look, it doesn't matter how you try to come off. If you don't get it done, you don't get it done. And so, yeah, if you want to save face in the court of public opinion, sure. You start appealing to them by showing them every step of the way, here, this is what we're doing. I just don't like it. Personally, that's not my style. I'd rather have the fan base pissed off because we ended up with Mitchell Trubisky in silence than going around parading to everyone, hey, we're looking for a quarterback. Anybody got one for sale? Give us a call. Hey, we tried to trade for Russell Wilson. Hey, we called the Packers about Rodgers. They shut us down. Hey, we're trying. Hey, we called about Derek Carr in Vegas. We got shut down. Hey, we're out here working the phones. We're busy doing nothing. We already know what it is. We're going to get a veteran. We're going to get a young guy, and we're going to go to camp with 3 quarterbacks, a veteran, a young boy, and Taylor Heineke. We already know what it is. You don't have to play this game anymore. It's okay. It's okay. In case you missed it, Amari Cooper to be released by the Cowboys, set to make $22 million next year, base salary. Cowboys said, that's a lot of money. And $20 million in dead cap. That's a tough, bitter pill to swallow. But the Cowboys are also like, we want Michael Gallup back. And we don't really think you fit in what we're trying to do. And you're always hurt. And so we're just going to go in a different direction. And Gallup's going to be a lot cheaper. And we like him a lot. And he's really good when he's healthy. So we're going to go with Gallup. I'm shocked. I'm not going to lie to you. Not shocked that the Cowboys figured out what everybody already knew when they got Amari Cooper, which is why I didn't want Washington to get Amari Cooper. He's a really good receiver, but there's something missing. Whether it's health, whether it's, a dog or alpha mentality, he's a really cool cat, man. He's a meow. He's the guy, you give him a ball of yarn, he'll entertain himself, end up with 2 catches for 17 yards. Every now and again, he'll scratch you with those cat claws. And he'll get you for 7 for 173 and 2 scores. Yeah, he can blaze you every now and again, but I think they prefer the dog that is Michael Gallup. I don't blame them. And I can tell you this, Washington went after Michael or Amari Cooper with aggression a couple of years ago when he signed with Dallas. I hope they leave his ass out there and let somebody else retrieve him. And there are a number of teams that would be interested. The Browns could use an upgrade and a number 1 guy. There's a lot of teams out there. Let him go somewhere else. We don't need him in Washington. We're good. And good riddance to Amari Cooper if he is released by the Dallas Cowboys. But we'll see what happens there. That's an interesting dynamic. And they may not be done there. They asked Tank Lawrence to take a pay cut in case you missed it. And he said, hell no, get out my face. I told you, you better be prepared. When you go to someone and ask them to take a pay cut, you better be prepared to cut their ass. Are they prepared to cut Tank Lawrence? Stay tuned. I don't know. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Anyway, I digress. Got a super chat. I'm going to take that real quick, and that'll serve as garbage time. So let's get to this super chat real quick. And it's from my guy, Nick Riley, my guy, Nick at Night. What's going on with you? Been a while. Feels like it's been a while. But feels good to be chopping it up with my boy, Nick, who writes, not gonna lie, Lou, Kyle Hamilton being all over the place on his 40 worries me about his balance coming off that injury a little. I don't know if I would go big picture with it, but he was definitely weaving and wobbling all over the place. And it could have just been nerves. It could have just been him putting too much pressure on himself. It could have been a number of things. It could have been exactly what you just said. I don't want to dismiss that either, but at the end of the day, I think he'll be fine. I'm not putting too much into it. We know he plays faster than what he showcased on the field and in Indy. We know he has range. He's got length. And even if he is a 5'8" guy, type of guy, at 6'4", 220, with his instincts and his ability, that'll more than make up for, the lack of top end speed. The one thing I don't like doing with players anymore that I used to do a lot when I was younger was dismiss them because of a lack of top end speed. A lot of times the best players in the league aren't the fastest players. Cooper Kupp is one of the best receivers in football. Same can be said with DeAndre Hopkins, and Michael Thomas at one point was that guy. All these guys have one thing in common. They don't run 4.4, okay? So when you look at players in the league at various positions, Tyrann Mathieu has been one of the better safeties in football for a very long time. He's not a 4.4 guy. He's not even a 4.5 guy. So when you look at these players, you have to remind yourself that it's not always about speed. It's about guys that know how to play the game, and Kyle Hamilton knows how to play the game. So I'm not as concerned. I'm just hoping other teams are, and he slips to 11 to my Washington Commanders. I'd love to have an opportunity. I at least want the opportunity to be there. Even if they decide not to take him and take a quarterback instead, at least allow that opportunity to present itself and see what they do with it. So anyway, I digress. Thank you for the super chat, Nick at Night. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. I thank you guys for joining me here on the LouieTeeNetwork podcast. We're going to kind of get back to a normal schedule now, back in the office full time. Looking forward to chopping it up with you guys. So we'll be back on Wednesday. We'll be back on Friday as well. And we'll really start to work our way up to free agency. I think tomorrow or Wednesday's show will be a big free agency show as we really start to prepare for the league tampering period that starts on Monday. So we're going to start hearing about deals over the weekend more likely than not. And Bart Scott, can't wait. I think I'll come up with a list like I did last year of my top 25 free agents, maybe top 50, we'll see. And I'll bring that to your doorstep, maybe Wednesday, maybe Friday. We'll see. Either way, you'll have it before free agency kicks off. And as those guys come off the list, we'll talk about it here on the LouieTeeNetwork podcast. Until then, you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. Look forward to chopping it up with you on Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your night. God bless and good night, you guys. Oh, got another super chat from Molly Mall. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Molly Mall, who writes, I knew Cooper was gone after that first Washington game. He was becoming a second wide receiver. You know, you can kind of see the tea leaves. I just didn't know because Michael Gallup was injured this year. And I've always said, you guys remember what I said. I've talked about the Cowboys roster. I said, their number one running back, the guy that scares me the most, isn't Ezekiel Elliott, it's Tony Pollard. And now we're hearing rumblings about the Cowboys potentially trying to move on from Zeke. I don't think they're going to, but the reason they are thinking about it at least, or it's out there floating around, is because Tony Pollard's so good. I said, you know who to me is the biggest threat when the game's on the line, who Dak Prescott is looking for? He's not looking for Amari Cooper. He's either looking for CeeDee Lamb, but more importantly, he's looking for Michael Gallup. If you go back and you look at all of the biggest plays of games, like the New England game, in overtime, it's fourth down, they need it. Who does he throw the football to? They need a play. The first game of the season in 2020 against the Rams, he throws that ball to Michael Gallup, got the ridiculous OPI when he smoked Jalen Ramsey. That's Michael Gallup. When the game's on the line, he's looking for Gallup. That speaks to me. It speaks to my soul. So, I don't know. I think you were on to something there, and I can see it. So, anyway, I digress. Thank you guys for joining me. I look forward to chopping it up with y'all. Until next time, y'all be easy. God bless, and good night.